Thanks very much, and good morning, everyone. You're welcome. Thank you for the documentation. The last time you were with us was in October of last year, and I have to say, from my perspective, it's very hard to see where progress has been made or this project has been reined in any way. At the time when you were with us in October, the session I thought was highly unsatisfactory, and you weren't able to be specific on anything at all. And I'm sensing the same kind of attitude here this morning, where in a very casual way you're saying, oh yes, of course it'll take longer and it'll cost more, but you're not providing any specifics to us at all on either of those issues. And I mean, the whole country is waiting for this hospital to be completed and are watching kind of as the bill seems to be ballooning all the time. So I'm not satisfied just that you come in and say to us you still haven't a clue how much it's going to cost ultimately or when it's going to be completed and ready for use. But what I am hearing is that the situation has disimproved considerably. You're saying that only about 30% of the activity is taking place that should be taking place at this stage. And you're also saying that the number of claims has increased very substantially. So it's very hard to know who's actually in charge of this project. It's a massive project, very badly needed, but you know, I mean, I've no doubt that it is going to be at some point in the future a great facility, very badly needed, and I was very impressed when I went to visit it last year. But can you tell us who's in charge of this thing at the moment? It seems to be running out of control completely. And you know, how is it the case that 2 years on from the last compliance programme, we still haven't got a current one? So how has that situation been allowed to develop?
It's just if I respond to your general point in terms of specifics, right? I think I have been.
Sorry, I'll go into the specifics in a few moments. Can you just answer that question? How has the situation been allowed to continue where there hasn't been a compliance programme for over 2 years?
So we did have a compliance programme, as I've mentioned. Then we had an extended engagement with the contractor where they provided us with a programme that was not fully compliant, but still, which had the various dates we've given to you were the substantial completion dates at that time, and we monitor their progress on. While not fully compliant, this was the programme. You know, for the last 2 years, the contractor has delivered something like 65 to 70, about 67%. So it was, while not fully compliant, it was, shall we say, sufficient to allow us to monitor progress. When we then got earlier this year, and we were concerned when we dropped from the 67% or the 60% below that, and the performance dropped off further, the development board got sufficiently concerned to say, we now need to get a formal programme. BAM. Let's go back and give us now a programme to complete.
Okay, it's hard to understand how you accepted a less than adequate.
We never accepted it contractually.
But you accepted a situation where you didn't have an appropriate compliant programme.
I guess if I go back to
and can I just check in relation to that? I mean, does the contract provide for penalties for the contractor's failure to produce that programme, which is essential?
Yes, and in the past, we did apply those penalties. The contractor...
When did you apply those penalties?
2020, I think it was.
And why is it that, given that you don't have an adequate programme at this point, I think we did 2 years late, why have you not applied those penalties on this occasion?
We have now applied penalties. I think it's in the
2
opening
years
statement.
later?
Well, we've applied them, but I'm trying
2 years. When did you apply them?
Last month.
So you're allowed 2 years to elapse without a satisfactory compliant programme.
Let me just try and paint the picture. We have
I'm just asking you to tell us why is it the case?
Contractually, that is correct.
Yeah. So why did you allow that situation to
We allowed
occur?
that, as I said, we had a programme that was, you know, not 100%, but was sufficiently robust.
Right. It
from
wasn't
the development board
satisfactory.
point of view. It wasn't 100%.
Right.
It wasn't 100% satisfactory. No, it wasn't. It was sufficient to allow us to progress and measure progress on the site. But we were attempting at that stage to engage in a collaborative fashion with the contractor. So we had been through the wars and the leveraging of 15%.
I hear what you're saying.
Well, let me finish. And it didn't really realise what we wanted. We sought another approach which was more collaborative, and that then came to a conclusion, and now we're back in a more robust contractual phase. That's the nature of the engagement that we have had.
Okay. I would question the collaborative approach because I don't think it has been satisfactory. Okay, and you know, another way of describing a collaborative approach is to say it's a lax approach.
Well, the contract,
and that's the way it's coming across.
Requires the parties to collaborate.
Okay. In relation to the completion of rooms, you're saying that 20% are complete, 20% of the 3,000 are complete to the point where they can be snagged. Is that the case? Or is it 27?
What I'm saying is at this stage, the contractor committed to offering about 3,000 rooms as complete for inspection by the design team. But they have offered 607 to be exact at the end of June.
Yeah.
And 27 of those have been accepted. They're the IT rooms and data centre.
Okay, so the figure they've offered is 20% of the total.
They've offered 11% of the total number of rooms and corridors to date at the end of June.
Sorry, 600 out of 3,000 rooms.
607 out of 5,680 rooms and corridors in the building.
Oh, you're including corridors in that. Okay. So,
I think
if you don't mind.
Between the 3,000 and the 5,000, sorry. Yeah. The total number of rooms is the 5,000, but by this stage they should have offered under their programme 3,000.
Okay.
80 per week should be 3,000.
The delay in those 600 then that have been offered, are you saying that the delay, or sorry, to what extent is the delay on your part rather than the contractor's part, given that only 27 of those have been kind of signed off for snagging?
The contractor is fully responsible for delivering those rooms in accordance with the works requirements or accordance with the contract.
And you're satisfied?
So the responsibility for the delay is with the contractor. And it goes down to what Mr. Gunning said in the opening statement. It's one of resource. It's just on the 67% delivery against the programme.
Okay, I get that. Thank you. In relation to the claims then, I mean, the claims have increased very substantially since you were with us last. And your strategy last October, you told us, was to park the claims until the completion of the construction work. You told us at that stage.
We parked them for the duration of a moratorium that we talked to you about the last time.
How long was that moratorium for?
Well, it finished in January of this year.
Okay, so since January of this year, I'd like you to update us on what you've done in relation to the claims. You say that 16 of the claims accounted for 76% of the total value. That means, you know, there are 16 claims there with an average cost of 36 million each.
Yeah, and they're
36 million is a vast amount of money.
And some of them are over 100 million.
Okay, but it's an average of 36.
Yeah.
So what is the strategy for addressing those claims? You know, the total value of the claims is €500 million.
Correct.
So in relation to those big claims that account for most of that, what is your strategy for addressing those?
The raising of claims is the contractor's entitlement under the contract. They're entitled to do that.
Yeah,
and if they're entitled, and if they're,
I'm just asking, what is your strategy for dealing with those?
And our strategy is to respond and defend each claim robustly. That's our approach.
Okay, so what does that mean in practice? What is happening on those?
So there's a process in the contract as to how these claims are dealt with. So a claim is raised, it's substantiated. The substantiated claims is 756 million. It then is referred to the employer's representative, who makes a determination on the claim. Either party can either accept or reject the determination. The vast majority of those determinations are not accepted and go to what's called the disputes process. So then they go to disputes process. The first step along the disputes process is a review at the project board, which is a committee made up of ourselves.
Okay, I'm nearly out of time.
Okay, well, I just,
since the moratorium ended in January, how many of those claims have been settled or dealt with?
Well, there's a very big one currently in conciliation.
Right.
There are actually 2 currently in conciliation. There have been, I think, 3 adjudications since, which is a separate mechanism outside of the contract under the Construction Act. There's been 3 conciliations this year. So so in total of the 2,000 or say 1,400 disputes, 24 have been through a conciliation process.
Did you say 1,000? I thought you said over 2,000.
Well, that's the number of claims. But then, then as they go through the different filters, so how many of them are actually referred to disputes?
Yeah, okay.
They're not all in there
None
yet.
of them have been finalised since January. Is that what you're saying?
I think we're in the process of settling 1 or 2 relatively small ones currently on a by
Okay,
agreement
I'm talking about
basis.
some of the big ones?
But none of them, no, absolutely not.
Oh, okay. How many are in court at the moment?
There are 2 items in the High Court, and the court watchers will know that BAM is seeking to reinstate what's called the Phase B instruction High Court case, where BAM is essentially claiming that the instruction to commence works was not valid.
It's not valid. Okay.
Well,
yeah.
that's in the High Court, and it was mentioned last Monday.
What's the value of that claim?
It doesn't have a value. It's to be determined, if you like. That's a High Court. That's now in the High Court. Oh, so all the preceding, any values and things that were on it previously all fall away once it goes to the High Court.
Okay. What are BAM valuing that at?
It's more than a value. This goes to the core of the entire. Where they're saying their instruction to commence work was not valid.
Okay. What's the second one?
Second one is to do with the frame, which is the concrete and steel frame for the building. BAM had a claim for that. It went through conciliation. The Development Board was not happy with the conciliator's decision, and BAM subsequently has referred that to the High Court. And again, once it goes to the High Court, the numbers fall away and it becomes a new case.
Okay, my very last question then is there any connection between the ending of the moratorium and the go-slow that's underway at the moment? You're satisfied that that's the case?
I don't believe that's the case, Deputy Shortall. No, not at all.
Thank you.
Not at all.
Can you clarify, you're saying in relation to the claim, is that the COVID claim, is that still outstanding, or has that been resolved?
There are a number of COVID claims, not just one. One claim has been settled, which is basically the government mandated shutdown period. The contractor has been awarded all that time onto the contract, and that's part of why the original contract date of August 22 has moved to November 22. So in other words, the new date for the contract completion is November. Okay. But there are other COVID claims still in the works, being worked through the process. The contractor is claiming other monies in relation to COVID.
Okay, thanks very much.